Grab your coffee, mama. It's time for coffee, clients, and nap time. I'm Sarah Marie, and this is your guide to building a business that works for you and your family. Here, we'll dive into creating a thriving business that lets you be the hands-on parent you want while designing the life you've always dreamed of. So if you're ready to balance business success with family life and make it all work in a way that feels right for you, then let's dive in. Hey mama, and welcome back to Coffee, Clients, and Nap Time. I'm Sarah Marie, and I'm going to be completely honest with you. This week has been a bloody roller coaster. In the space of just a few days, I lost a favourite long-term client who I absolutely wasn't ready to say goodbye to. And I also made the difficult decision to stop working with another client who was bringing in significant income, but it wasn't aligning with my priorities as a mum or where my business is heading. It was 2 major client changes, same week. Talk about the universe having a sense of timing, right? And if you've ever had one of those weeks where it feels like everything is shifting at once, where you're questioning whether you've made some terrible decisions or whether something bigger is at play, then this episode is for you. Today, I want to talk about what it's like when the universe seems to rearrange your entire client list without asking your permission first. How to trust the process when you can't see the bigger picture, and why sometimes the most painful transitions are actually the most necessary ones. Because what I'm learning is that sometimes the universe moves clients out of your business, not because you've done something wrong, but because it's making space for something better, even when you can't see what that better is just yet. All right, so let me start by telling you about the client that I lost this week. This wasn't the case of outgrowing each other or natural evolution. This was a client I genuinely enjoyed working with, who valued my input and who made my work feel meaningful. When they called and explained that they were refocusing their spending priorities and wouldn't need my services anymore, my first reaction wasn't relief, it was genuine disappointment. This client gave me work that I loved. They trusted my expertise. They implemented my suggestions. They made me feel like I was making a real difference in their business. And then suddenly they were saying goodbye. There's a different kind of grief when you lose a client relationship that was actually working. It's not the relief of escaping a draining situation. It's the sadness of losing something valuable. You grieve the routine and the familiarity of working together. You grieve the satisfaction of doing work that you're genuinely good at. You grieve the validation of being trusted with important projects. And you grieve the financial security of that predictable income. And most of all, you grieve the professional relationship that had become personal. The hardest part about this client loss was that it didn't make logical sense from my perspective. I wasn't doing anything wrong. The relationship was healthy. The work was good. But their business needs had changed. Their priorities had shifted. And their circumstances had evolved. And sometimes these changes have nothing to do with you and everything to do with where their business is going. When you lose a good client unexpectedly, it's natural to spiral into what ifs. What if I had been more proactive? What if I'd offered additional services? What if I had checked in more regularly? What if I'd seen this coming and addressed it sooner? But sometimes client relationships end, not because you failed to do something, but because their journey was always meant to take them in a different direction. This is the hard lesson I'm learning right now, that sometimes the timing of client departures has more to do with what the universe is setting up for you than what you've done or haven't done. Maybe this client needed to leave to make space for opportunities you can't see yet. Maybe their departure is redirecting your business towards something more aligned. Maybe the universe knows something about your capacity and your future that you don't know yet. It's easy to trust the process when you can see the next opportunity coming. It's so much harder to trust when you're sitting with empty space in your calendar and no clear sign of what's next. But sometimes faith in your business journey means trusting that good things are coming, even when you can't see them yet. Now, let me tell you about the client I chose to let go of this week. This one was harder in a different way because it was my decision and because the financial impact was significant. This client wasn't terrible to work with. They were professional, they paid me on time, and the work itself wasn't bad. But over the last couple of months, I'd started to notice something that was becoming increasingly clear. Their needs and their expectations weren't aligning with the time and energy I currently have available, especially with a toddler at home and a newly diagnosed neurodivergent teenager who needs me as her carer. As my family situation has evolved, my availability and capacity has changed too. What I could commit to a year ago, or even 6 months ago, isn't necessarily what I can commit to now. This client needed someone who could be highly responsive, available for frequent check-ins, and able to turn around urgent requests quickly, and that meant a huge chunk of my capacity each week. These were all reasonable expectations for their business needs. But my reality is that I have a toddler who doesn't always stick to predictable schedules, and I have a teenager whose neurodivergent needs require my attention and advocacy in ways I couldn't have anticipated. Their needs went wrong, and my capacity wasn't wrong, but they weren't compatible. And what became clear was that when a client's needs don't match your capacity, every interaction becomes stressful. You're constantly feeling like you're falling short of their expectations, even when you're doing good work. You start dreading their emails because you know they need something you can't easily provide. And you find yourself making promises about availability that you just can't consistently keep. Beyond the time and availability issues, our working and communication styles simply weren't aligned. They preferred frequent check-ins, and I work better with clear project briefs and autonomy to do my best work. Neither approach is wrong, but they are different. And when your working styles don't match, every interaction requires extra energy to bridge that gap. There's this idea that once you take on a client, you should be able to maintain the same level of service indefinitely. But life changes. Family needs change. Your capacity changes. And it's actually more professional to recognize that you can no longer serve a client at the level they need and either help them find someone who can or step aside so that they can do what is best for their business. I really struggled to have this conversation because I was stuck in thinking that admitting my capacity had changed was a sign of weakness or failure. But I learned it's actually a sign of self-awareness and professional integrity. It's so much better to be honest about your limitations than to overpromise and underdeliver. And I won't lie, there was a lot of guilt involved in this decision. Guilt about letting go of steady income when I have a family to provide for. Guilt about not being able to do it all. Guilt about admitting that my family needs take priority over my client needs. But the core reason I run my business is to support my family's needs. And those include more than just providing financially for them. My teenager's neurodivergent needs don't follow a business schedule. My toddler doesn't care about my client deadlines. And I also have another child in the midst of all that chaos who deserves his mum's time and attention too. So trying to pretend otherwise was creating stress for everyone. Me, my family, and ultimately my clients too. When I'm constantly worried about whether I can respond to a client email quickly enough while I'm supporting my daughter through a meltdown, or when I'm trying to take a work call while my toddler is having a hard day, nobody wins. Not me, not my family, and not the client who deserves my full attention. After ending that client relationship, I expected to feel panic about the lost income. Instead, I felt relief. Relief that I wouldn't have to constantly worry about response times while caring for my children. Relief that I could focus on work that fits better around my current life situation. Relief that I was making business decisions based on my actual capacity rather than my ideal capacity. Relief that I was prioritizing my family's needs without feeling guilty about it. But most of all, relief that I could show up fully present for my clients instead of constantly feeling stretched too thin. This client deserves someone who can meet their needs fully and enthusiastically. By staying in a relationship where I was constantly stressed about meeting their expectations, I wasn't serving them well. And my family deserves my presence and attention, especially during this phase when they need more support. By trying to maintain client commitments that stretch my capacity too thin, I wasn't serving anyone well. Sometimes the most caring thing you can do for everyone involved is to recognize when you're just not the right fit anymore. So there I was, in the space of 3 days, with 2 significant client relationships ending. And honestly, it felt like the universe was rearranging my entire business without asking my permission. When multiple client relationships change at once, it can feel like your entire business is falling apart. You start questioning everything. Is this a sign I'm terrible at client relationships? Have I made massive mistakes in my business strategy? Am I being too picky about who I want to work with? Should I have held on to what I had instead of gambling on what might come? But what I noticed when I stepped back and I looked at both situations was that they were actually pointing me in the same direction. Both departures were creating space for the kind of work I actually want to be doing, with the kind of clients who align with my current values and business goals. Sometimes, when multiple client relationships shift at once, the universe might be clearing space for opportunities you just can't see yet. It might be redirecting your business toward better alignment. It might be teaching you to trust your decision-making abilities. It might be preparing you for a new level of business. It might be removing dependencies that are keeping you small. Or it might be making room for clients who will challenge you to grow in the right direction. Right now, I'm in that uncomfortable space between no longer and not yet. No longer working with those two clients, but not yet clear on what's to come. This space is uncomfortable because humans like certainty. We like knowing what's next. We like having our calendars filled and our income predictable. But this space is also full of possibility. It's where new opportunities can take root. It's where you can connect with your vision without the constraints of existing commitments. Use the space to get clear on what you actually want. When you're not consumed with managing difficult client relationships or being constrained by existing commitments, you can think more clearly about where you want your business to go. Focus on what you can control. You can't control when new opportunities will appear, but you can control how you will spend your newly available time and energy. It's important to also trust your track record. Look back on other times in your business when things have felt uncertain. How did those situations resolve? What opportunities came from unexpected changes? And remember to stay connected to your why you started your business in the first place. Are these client transitions moving you closer to or further from that original vision? The reality is that building a business requires faith in ways that employment just doesn't. When you're employed, your income is predictable until it isn't. But when you're self-employed, you're constantly trusting that the work will continue to come. Client transitions require a particular kind of faith. Faith that releasing what isn't right will make space for what is right. Faith that your skills and value haven't disappeared just because particular relationships have ended. Faith that the universe has better plans for your business than what you can currently see. So as I'm sitting with these simultaneous client transitions, I'm learning some things about timing that I feel urged to share with you. If you'd asked me a month ago when would be a good time to lose two major clients, I would have said never. But as I'm processing what's happened, I'm starting to see the wisdom in the timing. My business has been evolving. I've been clarifying my values and getting clearer about the direction I want to head. These client departures are forcing me to trust that evolution instead of staying comfortable with what I already had. When the universe removes clients from your business, it's not always about loss. Sometimes it's about release. Maybe you were holding on to relationships that had served their purpose, but were no longer serving your growth. Maybe you were staying comfortable instead of stepping into the next level of your business. Maybe you needed the push to trust your instincts and make changes that you've been avoiding. When changes happen gradually, it's easy to adjust slowly and avoid making the bigger shifts that are actually needed. However, when changes happen all at once, you're forced to really evaluate where you are and where you want to go. And let me tell you, this week has forced me to confront questions that I have been avoiding. What kind of work do I actually want to be doing? What values are non-negotiable in my business relationships? How much financial security am I willing to trade for alignment and peace? What would my business look like if I built it entirely around my current priorities? Having sudden openings in your calendar can feel scary, but it's also a gift. It's space to think strategically instead of just reactively. It's time to create instead of just manage. And it's an opportunity to design instead of just respond. This kind of blank space is where new ideas are born, where strategic thinking happens, and where you can reconnect with your vision. The hardest part about trusting the universe's timing is that you can't see where it's leading. You have to trust the process without knowing the outcome. But what I'm choosing to believe, and what I know to be true, is that every transition in my business has ultimately led to something better. Every time I've been forced to change direction, I've ended up somewhere more aligned than when I started. That doesn't mean it's easy. That doesn't mean it's not scary. But it does mean that my track record gives me reason to trust that something good is coming from this chaos. When your business goes through major transitions, especially the unexpected ones, there are some permissions you need to give yourself that you may not realize that you need. You don't have to know exactly what comes next the moment a client relationship ends. You don't have to have your next move planned before you've processed the current change. It's okay to sit in the uncertainty for a little while. It's okay to take time to grieve what you've lost before you start planning what comes next. You're allowed to be sad about losing a good client and excited about new possibilities. You can be relieved about firing a client and scared about the financial impact. You can be confident in your decisions and uncertain about what comes next. These contradictory emotions can exist simultaneously, and you don't have to resolve them immediately. Sometimes your gut tells you to make decisions that don't make financial sense in the short term. You have permission to trust those instincts. Your intuition often knows things your bank balance doesn't. It sees patterns your spreadsheet can't track, and it recognizes misalignments before they become major problems. You have permission to believe that things happen when they're meant to happen, even when the timing feels terrible from your perspective. Maybe your favorite client had to leave now to prepare you for something bigger that's coming. Maybe you needed to fire the misaligned client now to make space for opportunities that will appear next month. Maybe the universe knows something about your capacity and your readiness that you just don't know yet. When client relationships end, whether by your choice or theirs, it's not always about rejection. Sometimes it's simply redirection. Maybe the universe is redirecting your business towards work that's more aligned with your values. Maybe it's redirecting your energy towards clients who will appreciate you more. Maybe it's redirecting your path towards opportunities you couldn't see while you were so busy maintaining those existing relationships. When you lose income, it's natural to panic and think, oh my God, I need to replace this immediately with anything that I can find. But you have permission to operate from abundance, to trust that the right opportunities will come at the right time, to hold space for clients who will be truly aligned instead of settling for anyone who will pay you. And I urge you to take a moment and consider, what if these client departures aren't downgrades, but what if they're actually upgrades? What if the universe is removing clients who are keeping you at a certain level to make room for clients who will challenge you to grow? What if losing predictable income is creating space for income streams that are more aligned with your values and capacity? What if this disruption is exactly what your business needs to evolve to its next stage? Going through these simultaneous client transitions have taught me some things about how businesses actually grow and evolve. We like to think that business growth looks like a steady upward climb, more clients, more income, more success, in a nice, predictable progression. But actually, business growth often looks like a crazy spiral staircase. You go around corners, you can't actually see what's ahead. Sometimes you feel like you might be going backwards when you're actually gaining elevation. And client departures, even the good ones, are often the corners in that spiral staircase. They feel disorienting in the moment, but they're necessary for getting to the next level. When I'm being completely honest, both of these client relationships had become comfortable. The work was predictable, the income was steady, the relationships were established. And the comfort is lovely, but comfort can also be the enemy of growth. Maybe I was staying comfortable instead of pushing myself to do more challenging, more aligned, and more meaningful work. Maybe I was accepting good enough instead of holding out for amazing. Maybe I was choosing security over alignment because it felt safer. Sometimes the universe forces evolution because we're too comfortable to choose it ourselves. If that favorite client hadn't left, would I have challenged myself to find even better clients? If I hadn't been forced to confront the capacity mismatch with the other client, would I have continued to compromise my family's needs for financial security? Probably not. I would have stayed comfortable, stayed safe, stayed exactly where I was. When you're forced to choose between different client opportunities, between financial security and values alignment, between comfort and growth, these moments reveal what actually matters to you. This week has revealed that I value alignment more than I value predictability. I'm willing to trust the process, even if I can't see the outcome. My priorities as a parent influence my business decisions way more than I realized. I've grown more confident in my ability to attract good clients than I thought. Sometimes you don't know what you really want until you experience what you don't want. Working with a capacity mismatched client clarified what realistic expectations actually look like for my current life situation. And losing a client I enjoyed working with clarified what I want to look for in future relationships. Both experiences, painful as they were, gave me more clarity about the direction I want my business to go. So if you're going through your own period of big client changes, here's what I'm learning about how to navigate it. Don't jump immediately into planning what's next. Sit with the emotions that come up: disappointment, fear, relief, anxiety, whatever they are. Give yourself permission to grieve what you're losing before you start planning what comes next. When multiple things change at once, there's usually a pattern. What themes are emerging? What are the transitions telling you about your business, your priorities, or your growth? In my case, both transitions were pointing me towards the same thing: being more aligned, more intentional, and giving more clarity about the kind of business I want to build and what my current capacity really looks like. When client relationships end, you'll suddenly have space not only in your calendar, but also your mental bandwidth. Use this space intentionally rather than just trying to fill it as quickly as possible. This is your opportunity to connect with your business vision or reconnect with your business vision. Clarify your ideal client profile, update your messaging and positioning, rest and recharge your energy, create content that attracts aligned opportunities. Look back at the other times in your business when things have felt uncertain. How did these situations resolve? What opportunities came from unexpected changes? Your past experience in navigating business challenges is evidence that you can navigate this one too. Sometimes the best opportunities come in forms you weren't expecting. Stay open to possibilities that may not look exactly like what you had before. So maybe instead of replacing like with like, this is your chance to try something completely different. Maybe instead of finding one big client, you'll find several smaller ones that give you more diversity and security. Maybe instead of service work, this is your time to create a product or a course. Don't try to navigate major business transitions alone. Talk to other business owners who understand what you're going through. Share what's happening with your friends and family, as they can offer emotional support. And sometimes, just saying out loud, "I'm scared, but I think this is the right direction," helps you to believe it yourself. You don't have to have the entire future mapped out to take the next right step. What's one small action you can take this week that moves you towards more alignment? Maybe it's updating your website to better reflect your current values. Maybe it's reaching out to one potential collaboration partner. Maybe it's writing content that speaks to your ideal clients. Small but aligned actions build momentum and confidence. So if you're listening to this and you're in your own period of client transitions, whether chosen or unexpected, here's what I want you to know. Business transitions don't mean that you're bad at business. They mean your business is alive, growing, changing. Static businesses don't evolve, but thriving businesses do. Some of the best business owners I know have had multiple client transitions, pivots, and redirections. Your ability to build relationships with aligned clients is more important than your ability to hold on to any clients regardless of fit. Learn to trust your instincts, trust the process, and trust that good opportunities are coming. These are actual business skills that will serve you throughout your entrepreneurial journey. The uncomfortable space between ending one thing and beginning the next is where the most important business growth happens. It's where you clarify your vision, reconnect your values, and prepare for what's next. And no matter how significant a client relationship feels, your business is bigger than any single relationship. You built your expertise and your value before they came, and that expertise and value will remain long after they leave. I'm choosing to believe that these transitions happen now for a reason. Maybe to prepare me for opportunities that I can't see yet. Maybe to teach me lessons I need to learn. Maybe to redirect my business towards better alignment. Even if you're not spiritual, consider the possibility that the timing of business changes might serve a purpose that you can't see from your current perspective. This chapter of client transitions doesn't define your entire business story. It is literally just one chapter in a longer narrative of growth, evolution, and the building of something so meaningful. Whether you are currently in the middle of client transitions or looking to prepare for future ones, I want to leave you with this action plan. 1. Write down the real costs of staying, not just the obvious benefits, but the energy, alignment, and opportunity costs. 2. Get clear on your non-negotiable values and assess whether this client relationship supports or undermines them. 3. Plan the conversation professionally and respectfully. 4. Trust that making space for alignment will ultimately serve both your businesses and your family. 5. Allow yourself to feel disappointed, but also look for the gifts in the situation. 6. Write down everything that relationship taught you about your business, your skills, and what you want going forward. 7. Use the space to reconnect with your business vision and clarify your ideal client profile. 8. Look for the patterns. What are these transitions telling you about the direction your business wants to go? 9. Use the disruption as an opportunity to evaluate everything: your services, your ideal clients, your business model, your goal. 10. Do not rush to fill that space immediately. Sit with the uncertainty long enough to make thoughtful decisions about what comes next. 11. Diversify your client base so that no single client represents too much of your income. 12. Build systems and processes that make client transitions smoother. 13. Develop a strong network of potential referral sources and collaboration partners. Create multiple income streams so client departures don't threaten your entire business. And most importantly, practice trusting your instincts about client relationships so you can make proactive decisions instead of reactive ones. If this episode has resonated with you, I want to hear about it. Send me a DM at balancedbizmama on Instagram and tell me, have you ever had the universe rearrange your client list? How did you navigate simultaneous business transitions? What would you tell someone else who's been in the uncertain space between no longer and not yet? And if you're navigating client transitions right now, whether you chose them or they chose you, remember you don't have to figure this all out alone. Come join us in the Balanced Biz Mama Circle, where we support each other through all the messy, uncertain, growth-inducing parts of running a business while being a mum. Because building a business isn't just about attracting clients. It's about attracting the right clients and having the courage to release the wrong ones, even when it feels scary. So remember, Mama, sometimes the best thing that can happen to your business is having space cleared for something better, even when you can't see what that better is yet. Your business relationships should serve your growth, support your values, and align with your priorities. When they stop doing that, it's not failure to let them go. Trust your instincts about who deserves access to your time and energy. Trust that better opportunities are coming. Trust that the universe might just know something about your business journey that you don't know yet. That space between letting go and receiving what's next is uncomfortable, but it's also where magic happens. It's where new possibilities take root. It's where your business gets to evolve into something even better than what you had before. So until next time, trust the process, honor the transitions, and remember, you've got this, even when you can't see what this is leading to next. Thanks for joining me on Coffee, Clients and Naptime. If you've enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another mum who's ready to build their dream life. You can also join our Facebook page or Instagram to stay connected every day of the week. The link is in the show notes. Just remember, you've got this, and I'm here to help every step of the way.